Welcome back to Big Picture Investing. I'm Kevin McCormack. And before we jump in today, I wanted to say welcome to all of my new subscribers from my podcast with words of Rizdom regarding my 2021 World Championship Futures Trading win. I'll put a link down below for anyone who hasn't seen it yet. But this is my favorite time of the year. As I discussed on that podcast, I'm looking for a 10% move in the S&P 500 over the next 10 weeks. This is, in my opinion, one of the best trading periods of the year. In addition to jumping into the S&P 500 chart today, we're going to discuss the news coming out this week regarding Scott Bessent and his meeting with China. And then, of course, we are jumping into the heart of earnings season, and that is great news because I'm expecting great earnings from stocks that will be moving the market. With that said, let's jump into the charts. All right, we're going to take a look at the daily chart of the S&P 500. As we discussed last week, we had this huge decline on Friday, but I told everyone to not get too concerned about this. We had a clear area of support identified at 650 based on the propulsion levels. I didn't think we would break through that level or possibly go down to 640, as I mentioned on last week's call. And we held that level perfectly this week. In fact, we gapped higher on Monday, which I wasn't excited to see. But then we followed up on Tuesday by having a higher low. And then we had another higher low on Thursday. And then we finished the week actually higher on the week, a great sign. Also, if you take a look at how this rally has gone in the past highs, is we've had these points where we've hit new highs in the market, and then we've usually had a period of consolidation, slight decline, about 5 to 7 trading days. Well, guess what? We're on 5 right now, going into the start in the heart of earnings season is over the next 2 weeks. And I expect us to have great earnings coming out from companies that's going to give us the momentum to be trading at new highs by the end of October. And as I mentioned in the intro, I expect a 10% move higher over the next 10 weeks in the S&P 500. So for everyone out there who's a short-term trader or just someone who's thinking, is it time to get back in the market? Yes, it is. And do your own trading and trade setups out there, but you should be looking for and taking buy signals in the S&P 500. Now let's talk about the earnings that are coming out this week and which ones I will be focused on. All right, we just finished the start of earnings here the past week, and we started off with the big bank earnings. And if you haven't looked at any of our earnings reports, the big bank earnings were terrific, to say the least. And the reason why I do these earning reports, and I actually do this for myself and then share it with my audience out there, is because you need to pay attention to not just what we're trading, but the broader market in general, because you start to see news reports like we did this week about worries about loan books and, oh, somebody went bankrupt. It's really a small amount of money. All these banks have loan provisions in place, and they're all doing wonderful with their loan books. There's really no threat out there to the banking market, in my opinion, based off the earnings that were just reported. And so this week, we're really hitting into some of the more interesting earnings reports out there. If you didn't know already, I know everybody loves seeing me and my talk about this individually, but I do these AI curated podcasts that give you a quick rundown on what the company reported in 10 minutes or less. If you want to know what's going on in the market or about a specific company, I think this is a great resource out there for you to look at. This week, the major ones that most of the market and the news is going to be looking at is Netflix, Tesla, Intel, Procter & Gamble, just because of its consumer products area. But as you can see here, I plan on doing 25 earnings videos for my own investment reasons, and I will be sharing them with you as my audience. If there's anything out there that you'd like for me to cover and do a video on, I can do that for you. You let me know what companies also interest you. These are the ones that I think are most important going into this week and that will actually drive the market overall. And that's what's most important right now for my setup as a trader, as I'm looking at trading S&P 500 futures starting this week and towards the end of the year. I want to know what big earnings could move the market. The smaller companies are fun to look at out there, and they have great trading opportunities themselves, but they typically are not going to drive the market as these 25 stocks this week will. In addition to the earnings coming out, we had that pullback a week ago because of the fight with China over rare earths. I highlighted that this is just in my opinion, a move by China because they want access to the NVIDIA chips sooner, as in right now. And Scott Bessent is supposed to be meeting with his counterpart in China this week. They've already had a phone call, a little bit of a de-escalation. That's why the market's feeling more comfortable. President Trump himself has said that he expects things to work out between us and China. So, you could see some headline risk over the next couple of weeks, but as the channel is called, big picture, focus on the big picture here, folks. The market is in rally mode. We're going to have a positive resolution with China over the next 2 weeks and probably ink the final trade agreements, in the middle of November. You want to get into this market before all that news is in place, and then you'll get the early rally and the rally after all of this is complete. So let me know in the comments what you think about my earnings outlook for next week. Is there any companies you'd like me to take a look at in addition? And then please check out the channel and don't forget to like and subscribe.